So it's not a guarantee, but this should definitely get you off the ground into better transmission and reception for your handy talkies. Hey there, and welcome to the Nuka Vault Readiness channel. Appreciate you stopping by. Today we're going to be doing a very simple tiger tail build here for your ham radio HTs. Now, when you get an HT, you have everything in the box that you need to put it together. All you have to do is program in some frequencies, whether they're simplex or repeaters, and you're good to go. It is ready to go out of the box. But let's just say for your particular situation, you're not able to transmit as far as you'd like, or maybe the reception isn't as good. Well, that's where a tiger tail can come in handy. Now, let me explain. Again, out of the box, these are ready to go. But the antenna that they come with, which we call the rubber duck, is basically a monopole antenna, which means there is no ground off of this antenna. If you see certain antennas on like base stations and such, usually you see the antenna part, and then there are radials that are coming off the base. I implore you to go look at certain antennas, like say the Tram 1481. That's a base antenna for amateur ham radio stations for their shacks. I used to have one, no longer do. But when you look at it, it is a 17-foot antenna, and at the very base of it, it has 3 radials that come out in a triangle form. Those radials help the propagation and the distance from which how far it'll transmit, and also its reception. The same is not applied here when you just have a monopole antenna. There's no ground radials here. Technically, the ground is inside the radio. And depending on the radio, but this is for most models out there, the ground itself is either inside the circuit board, inside the transceiver, or it's a combo of what's inside the transceiver's circuit board and maybe a bit of the metal casing, wherever it may be. If you were to take a multimeter, you can find where your ground is on these. For this particular model, the UV17R, you get grounding either up here in the collar area, but also on these screws on the back. Try to get it right there where you see it, the work light. Right there. So, with that being said, instead of just having your monopole grounded to what's inside, the tiger tail now gives you the opportunity to have this radial in the same essence of like how I explained the 1481 for your base antenna is. A long pole with radials coming out. Again, it helps the propagation, helps the transmission, and also on the reception from how I understand it. So, this is kind of a quick and easy tip hack to help you get a little bit further range. There's many articles on this. Some people swear that tiger tail really jumps up their transmission distance. Some say it's at least a little bit better, or the reception comes in a little bit better. So it will depend on where you're at and what you're trying to do with it. So today I'm going to show you how to make one again. This is actually a tiger tail for the 2 meter VHF band for these types of radios. The 2 meter is only 144 through 148-ish megahertz. Technically, that's not the entire VHF band, but that's for the ham radio frequencies. So I'm going to make the complement to this, and I'm going to make a 70 centimeter one, and I'm going to put it on the other screw over here. So that way now my dual band or monopole will turn into a monopole, or essentially almost a dipole antenna. So here's the one side, and then the tail will be the other. Also like the ground, so that the ground is not just, or the other end of the pole is not just what's inside the transceiver. So I'm going to lay out here what you kind of need to do this build, and we'll get into it. Okay, as you can see, the supply list is pretty minimal over here. So first you have a ring terminal, and don't do as I did, which is just grab the first ring terminal you had that you thought would fit the screw. Because again, if you look at this, this is actually a little bit wider than the screw. It's still snug, it's still in contact, but I found a better one, which I believe this is a number 8, I believe, or a number 6 ring terminal, and that fits a lot better around this screw. So make sure you check these before you actually find one that you're going to commit and then crimp and everything. This is just 16 gauge trailer wire for, you know, the lights on the back of your hitch trailer. Really cheap. I think I spent somewhere around, I think $10, maybe 8 for the whole pack, and this was 25 feet. I've been using it. So again, 16 gauge stranded. You need a screwdriver, some type of small electronic screwdriver that works for the smaller screws. Your crimper. This is one of those, I call it a specialty crimper, but it's the one where you can get multiple dies for inserts for all different types of connections. This works the best rather than trying to do your crimping from your good old electrical pliers, electrical wire strippers, because this does not crimp all the way around, which is what you're wanting to do to get a secure fit on these. And I do recommend shrink wrap, or heat shrink, excuse me, heat shrink. I don't have any on the table. I am going to put it on post, so that will be off camera, but I'll show you what I did here. Is I added heat shrink up here from where the ring connector is, of course, onto the wire. And this is marine grade as well. So marine grade has a little bit of glue on the inside of it. So once it's hot and you can press it down, it's really sealed on there well and not just heat shrunk and wrapped, or, you know, shrunk on there. It's actually glued down. So, and then I like to put one end as well on the tail here. As you can see, I just took a pair of pliers and I just crimped it close. A little bit of waterproofing. Most of these types of radios are not meant to be out in hard rain, or they're not waterproof anyway, but just a little bit of insurance, you know. So, all right. So we're going to make it again for the 70 centimeter band, which is in the 440 megahertz range. There are a couple calculators. There's several blogs out there that you can read and about where exactly you want to put it. The 2 meter I made was technically for the middle of the 2 meter band. So I believe it's like 9 1/4 inches. And that is the counterpoise dipole end for around 146 megahertz, which is right in the middle, 2 meters. So a couple of blogs I've read, you could use about 6.5 inches for your 70 centimeters. And that should get you around the middle of the band. So not sure how that'll play into, or how we'll take that into account with SWR, but we're going to go with just that. And again, due to your use as your discretion, seek out other calculators and blogs. I highly implore that. So if you're trying to get the best fit, depend on the frequency you're using. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so we want 6.5 ring terminal out of the way here. And we're going to do our best. This is not exact science, but we're going to get close. Let's see, about right here, where my thumb is. And again, this measurement is for about the middle of the 7 centimeter band. Now that you have this, you're going to want to go ahead and strip just enough to get in the ring terminal. So we're probably talking 1/4 inch, because it's a pretty tight fit in there. Let's see. Hopefully I do this without, I tend to oversize the hole sometimes. I end up stripping the copper. Okay, looks good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to twist copper as best as we can. Because again, this is a relatively small hole to get in here. Let's see if we can, we're getting some of the, see. I don't know if y'all could see that right there. It's coming out the end. So got it all the way in there successfully. I'm going to keep it almost to the end as it's coming out. Let me see if I could zoom it in for y'all right here. We'll zoom it in for y'all. All right. So as you can see, it's like right there. That's where I'm going to keep it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the, again, specialty crimpers. And I believe the one I've used last time, I'm going to use the 0.078 diameter die. That should be enough to crimp this all the way through. So I always end up losing these right when I'm ready to do it. So we're going to try it right here. Get it in. The wire's still there, good. And then we're going to crimp it. And let's see if that does it. Yep, it's good in there. I know the end of it does not look pretty, but you know, it is what it is. Just that these are those just simple little kit you can get from like Harbor Freight or so. And like I said, I'm going to put the marine grade shrink wrap over this just so this cleans this up and it keeps the we'll give that a good pull. Sorry, making sure. Oh yeah, that's not going anywhere. All right, it's good and crimped. All right. And yeah, like I said, I will heat shrink this to close this up, kind of make sure that little bit of exposed copper is closed as best as I can get it, and then close the tail end up for water insurance, if that even matters. All right, so there you go. That's how you make your tiger tail. Very straightforward, nothing else needed. Again, heat gun, or you could do it the old school way with a match or a lighter and go back and forth and heat it. I don't like the way it smokes, and then you get rubber ashes or rubber rubber residue all over yourself, your wire, and it just kind of looks ugly. But anyway, so we have that here. And I've never built a 77 meter tiger tail, so I've never field tested it. So that'll be a different video. We'll go out and I'm going to test tiger tails on a couple different radios to see how they work. But so, quick note, as you see, I'm about to put this on the screw here. Let's get this on, then I'll tell you the other thing real quick. If this will come out. I have to tell you, sometimes these are the worst screws. There we go. Sorry, Pluto, you need to go over there. All right. So then let's drop the screw through here. That's a way better fit. Shame on me for not checking on those. And then we're gonna tighten it. Don't have to over tighten it, but all right. There you go. I'm getting kind of off to the side because you're going to be doing this anyway, or however you're holding it, and sometimes it'll get in the way. That will affect, I'm pretty sure that'll affect how your transmission goes because it's having contact with your body, and which your body is a ground because your body is electrical as well. So doing this, I may have to start using the Kenwood connectors for my the little handheld mics just to make sure. Yeah, there you go. That's how you make and attach a tiger tail here. So back to what I was saying as a quick note. Remember, I also said you can put a multimeter and find where your ground is on your radios, and sometimes it's up in here, right in the collar, right in here on the outside here. So a tip for you on that. I used an older baofeng and I got a ring terminal big enough to fit in here and then put the rubber duck antenna on. If your radio has one of these wells like this, when you put the ring terminal in, you decide to connect it to the antenna. There are blogs out there that say this is actually the better area or the better point on the radio to put your tiger tail because it makes more for a true dipole antenna since it's coming off where the connector is instead of this like counterpoised back here on the screw. But if you do that, you are going to have to bend your ring terminal up pretty high to get just over this the seat well, and on my the baofeng that I tested it on, it was not this harder. Sorry, it's not one of these harder plastic ones. It's the rubber duck, or excuse me, the rubber antenna, and I had to take an X-Acto knife and cut off probably an eighth to almost a quarter inch of the bottom, which gets really close to getting where that housing is up in here, which I'm sure had some effect on the radio, or excuse me, on the course, the transmission and receive itself, because then I was getting up to the casing and cutting away from its protective. So just note if you do that. I didn't notice any difference when I did it up there, but it was my very first time, so I possibly screwed something up along the way. But just wanted to throw that out there in case you really want to do it that way. There are blogs out there that'll tell you to do that. So, but yeah, looks clean. And then later on, we will go test that out in the field. So there you go, guys. I hope you found it informational. If you did, and kind of want to up your HT game, this is one way to do it. Simple, easy hack, tip, whatever you like to call it for that, versus buying a new antenna outright or a better antenna. I still suggest getting a better antenna, either in a Bree 771 or the Nagoya 771. Show it here. Sorry, it was off camera. So one of these. Again, or the Nagoya brand of this, and make sure it's an official Nagoya. You could see that they will tell you how to spot the fakes. And I have read that you could still use a better antenna and put your counterpoise on, and that should be even better than just running with your rubber duck antenna. All right, guys. Remember, always be getting ready, and we'll catch you around the next one.